Thanks, Cassidy. Now to our big story at 5. A gun battle in broad daylight kills an innocent mother. And 2 years later, the man accused of firing the fatal shot finally breaks his silence.
Might remember this video. Fox 6's Brian Polson live outside the Milwaukee County Courthouse with the defendant's excuse and the judge's sentence.
Yeah, guys, in a city with so many homicides every year, it's hard to imagine one that could shock the conscience. But this brazen gun battle in broad daylight near 5th and Center in 2019 killed an innocent passerby. And a Milwaukee County judge says it's the very kind of thing that gives a place the name of a bad neighborhood.
I don't want the court or the Banks family to think that I'm a monster. I'm not a monster.
His name is Romance Gunn, but there's nothing romantic about this chaotic gunfight near 5th and Center in 2019.
This is just another instance of utter and complete mayhem and destruction in Milwaukee.
Surveillance video from a nearby liquor store captured another man, Brian Clark, firing across the street at Gunn in a shootout that started, as most Milwaukee homicides do, with an argument.
Over a cigarette. Could anything be more pathetic than how we live our lives in Milwaukee than an argument over a cigarette results in a 23-year-old mother being killed?
According to the criminal complaint, Brian Clark was here on the west side of 5th Street. Romance Gunn was on the east side of 5th Street when they started to exchange fire. 23-year-old Jasmine Banks just happened to be passing through, an innocent life caught in the crossfire. Jasmine Banks was driving that white SUV.
I looked over and her head dropped.
Her twin sister Tyra was in the passenger seat.
I can't get the picture out my head.
I don't feel that I should be held accountable for the death of Mrs. Banks.
On Friday, the defendant said he never came forward because he grew up in a bad neighborhood and doesn't trust police.
You know why that's a bad neighborhood? Because people shoot up streets and kill people on 5th and Center. And that doesn't happen in Brookfield. That's what makes it a bad neighborhood.
Judge David Borowski sentenced him to 30 years in prison. That's one less gun on the street. Now, Brian Clark just turned 50 last month. He pleaded guilty earlier this year to being a felon in possession of a firearm. Judge Borowski sentenced him to 3 years in prison with credit for about a year and a half time served. In Milwaukee, Brian Polson, Fox 6 News.
Amazing. We heard no remorse in that courtroom today. Brian, thanks.
This just into our news.